Is it the ketamine talking? Elon Musk has vowed to create a new political party and primary every Republican who voted for Trump's big, beautiful bill. But will the world's richest man actually put his money where his mouth is? Welcome to the No Spin Zone. Graphs Grievances starts right now. Elon Musk is undeniably a visionary, a South African-born engineering genius. Musk has spent the past 2 decades building an empire, rooted in big ideas and bold ambitions. His rocket company SpaceX wants to colonize Mars. Tesla is driving the global shift to electric vehicles, sustainable energy, and even humanoid robots. Neuralink aims to connect the human brain to artificial intelligence to help us keep up with the machines. Musk has reshaped entire industries through sheer force of will and billions of dollars. He is a man of staggering foresight when it comes to technology. But when it comes to American politics, Musk has a lot to learn. He didn't vote in a US election until 2016, when he was 45 years old. And yet, in the 2023-2024 election cycle, Musk poured an eye-popping $292 million into Republican campaigns, apparently believing that level of spending would buy him influence or even control over the grand old party. Spoiler alert, it didn't. What Musk is now realizing, painfully and publicly, is that in Washington, D.C., influence is messy, loyalty is conditional, and money doesn't always buy the outcomes you want. Case in point, Trump's big, beautiful bill. This bill is Donald Trump's signature domestic policy proposal, and it's a disaster. It would add at least $3.3 trillion to the federal debt. For perspective, that's enough to buy every piece of real estate in Manhattan twice over. More than the combined net worth of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Larry Ellison, Mark Zuckerberg, and the next 18 richest people in the world. Equivalent to handing every US household over $25,000. Why don't they just do that? What's driving that price tag? Tax cuts. Lots of them. The bill extends the 2017 Trump tax cuts, many of which were set to expire this year, and piles on new ones. Notably, it includes Trump's campaign promises to eliminate taxes on tips and overtime pay. Popular slogans, sure, but expensive ones. The total Senate tax cut package, roughly $4.5 trillion. And like previous GOP tax efforts, these cuts overwhelmingly benefit the ultra-wealthy. According to a nonpartisan analysis, Americans in the bottom fifth of income earners would see their annual after-tax income fall by 2.3%. Meanwhile, the top 1% would enjoy a 2.3% boost. Republicans are paying for these tax cuts by slashing programs like Medicaid and food stamps, programs that help the most vulnerable Americans. But even those cuts don't come close to offsetting the cost. The bill is expected to add more than $3 trillion to the debt by 2034. The Congressional Budget Office has found that nearly 12 million more Americans could lose health coverage if this becomes law, largely due to deep cuts to Medicaid and the restructuring of its funding. Under the Senate bill, someone earning $217,000 a year would receive about a $12,500 tax cut. Someone making $35,000 or less would get a tax cut of $150. Now, I'm sure Musk doesn't mind a massive tax cut, but what's clear, what he has said repeatedly is that he does mind exploding the federal deficit. That's what drove the wedge between him and Trump back in late May. And while they patched things up briefly after Trump publicly threatened to cut off billions of dollars in federal subsidies to Musk's companies, Musk's frustration reignited as the bill passed the Senate and returned to the House. On June 30th, Musk went on the offensive on X, writing, quote, "It is obvious with the insane spending of this bill, which increases the debt ceiling by a record $5 trillion, that we live in a one-party country, the Porky Pig Party." Then Musk asked, quote, "How can you call yourself the Freedom Caucus if you vote for a debt slavery bill with the biggest debt ceiling increase in history?" And finally, Musk's biggest threat, quote, "Time for a new political party that actually cares about the people." Musk, like many Americans, bought into the myth that the Republican Party cares about debt and deficits. But if he had spent a little more time studying how Washington works, he might have noticed that the GOP stopped caring about those things a long time ago. Here's how it goes. Fiscal hawks in the House get loud. They condemn the spending. They vow to vote no. Then Trump, or whoever is the Republican president, picks up the phone, party leaders apply pressure, and magically they vote yes. We've seen this pattern over and over. Despite the deficit fear-mongering, Republicans have passed massive unfunded tax cuts for decades, and this bill may be the worst yet. It would add more to the debt than almost any bill in modern history, while permanently reducing government revenue. Even without this legislation, the national debt is expected to skyrocket in the coming decades. The Congressional Budget Office projects debt held by the public will grow by 156% of GDP by 2055. If the Trump-era tax cuts are made permanent, that number could climb to over 200%. And all of this comes just as the Social Security Trust Fund is projected to run dry in 2033. 2033. Without more revenue, even maintaining existing benefits will be nearly impossible. Republicans like to say tax cuts pay for themselves. History tells a very different story. A bipartisan retrospective of the 1981, 2001, 2003, and 2017 tax cuts found that they all increased deficits. None produced the economic booms they promised, and each gave disproportionate benefits to the ultra-wealthy. In contrast, the strongest economic performance of the last 50 years came under Democratic President Bill Clinton, who raised taxes. Growth hit 3.9% a year. Wages rose. Investments boomed. Under George W. Bush, big tax cuts were followed by underwhelming growth and a massive recession. Under Trump, the 2017 tax law cut corporate rates and promised 4% growth, a surge in wages, and more tax revenue. None of that happened. Growth averaged under 3%, hiring slowed, and deficits grew, even before the pandemic. So now Musk is turning against the GOP and threatening revenge. He's suggested that if Trump's bill becomes law, he'll immediately form a new America Party. His words, quote, "If this insane spending bill passes, the American Party will be formed the next day. Our country needs an alternative to the Democrat-Republican uniparty so that the people actually have a voice." At one point, Musk even declared that nearly the entire House and Senate GOP, quote, "will lose their primary next year if it is the last thing I do on this earth. That's ambitious, but this is Elon Musk we are talking about, remember? Trump didn't take the criticism lying down. He fired back, writing on social media, quote, "Elon may get more subsidies than any human being in history by far. Without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back home to South Africa." Trump went on to suggest the Department of Government Efficiency, Musk's tongue-in-cheek creation, might want to take a look into his own companies. To be fair, Musk's relationship with the Republican Party was always thin. He was a Democrat until recently and only began embracing the GOP in 2022. Now, less than 2 years later, he's in open warfare with Trump and threatening to blow up the whole party. He even polled his 220 million followers asking, quote, "Is it time to create a new political party in America that actually represents the 80% in the middle?" There's just one problem. Creating a third party in the US is almost impossible. The legal barriers are enormous, ballot access rules are punishing, and most voters still identify with the two major parties. Plus, Musk isn't exactly a unifying figure. A recent Quinnipiac poll found that among political independents, 59% view him unfavorably. But he does have advantages: massive wealth, his own media platform, and a growing segment of the electorate that's fed up with both political parties. I don't think Elon Musk will follow through on creating a third party. The obstacles are huge, and he doesn't have a great track record of delivering on his promises. But I do hope he keeps one of them: primarying Republicans who claim to care about deficits only to vote for bills that add trillions of dollars to the national debt. That would be a great public service. We need leaders who tell the truth, and if you promise over and over again to cut spending, only to cave under pressure from your party's leader, then you should be held accountable at the ballot box. America does need to get its fiscal house in order, and that means facing some hard truths. We won't fix the deficit by cutting food stamps and Medicaid, not even close. We fix it by raising taxes on the wealthy and cutting military spending. That's where the money is. That's where change has to come from. And if Elon Musk wants to help push that message forward, good for him. Thank you for watching Graph's Grievances. Let me know what you think. Please consider supporting my channel via the Venmo link below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and join me tomorrow for more.